Shalom Israel, giving all praises to Yahweh by Shem Yahweh Shai by Shemra Kakadash. Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, double honors to the apostle, elders, bishops, great millstone. One salutations to the brother teaching word for the hopeful elect, soon to be the elect, most I will. To the hopeful standing elect, Shalom blessings. Getting right into it, I'm going to call this yoke of iron. The yoke of iron thing. And it's a thing, definitely, because it has to be addressed, and it's biblical. And I think a few camps and churches been saying that was, when it mentions that in Deuteronomy, that was talking about them during that time. That hadn't to do with nothing now, or any kind of slavery over here. Now, I looked up yoke of iron, and it says it's a powerful metaphor used in the Bible, to describe severe oppression. What do they mean a metaphor, man? This really happened, people. Even the Hebrews, which was our people, served under the Egyptians with rigor and mortar, symbol of servitude. A yoke was a device used to harness animals, symbolizing subjugation and loss of freedom. Describing emphasis of oppression. See, that's these devils, man, trying to hide the true word of God, trying to make this like some myth, the Bible some myth. But they did use it in slavery. They used it to beat our ass. They used it to as a fear tactic when it came to that hell doctrine, that BS hell doctrine, saying that we're going to burn it forever. So yeah, Isaac, that's probably where the Isaac came from. Well, it's Isaac, we seek master and this, that. Because, hey, I'm going to put you in hell and you're going to burn forever because you didn't pick enough cotton, you're doing wrong on my plantation. Describing the yoke as iron. Yoke as iron emphasizes the harsh, unyielding, and unbreakable nature of the oppression. This indicates a heavy burden that cannot be easily removed or resisted. And it goes on, severe oppression and bondage, like slavery, because they did treat us like cattle, a heavy and difficult burden to bear, consequence of disobedience to God's will. See, that's right too, because we went into slavery because we didn't follow the Most High's commandments, His will. It serves as a stark warning about the danger of straying from a faithful relationship with God. See, there you go. But nowhere in Christian religion and nowhere that it was taught in any of these churches, I've never heard or never even, I never learned anything about slavery in the churches. But yet there's slavery all over the Bible. And then when you go to Google, which I'm in Google now, but if I go to images, first thing that pops up is a Negro. Well, they got the actual yoke of iron, but you go to the pictures, and this was in slavery. I mean, this was in America. So, and it said you shall be sold for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. And it actually says slaves for sale, auction blocks that Negroes were on. And there's another picture. And we understand, that's what these devils don't understand neither. They don't understand that it's such thing as reincarnation. But even, in the Most High's eyes, 2,000 years is nothing. It's only 2 days to him. So even if we compare this to Egypt, I mean, they still got a pyramid on the back of their dollar, American dollar. Who had us in slavery? The Egyptians. It even tells us in the scriptures that Egyptians are different from Israelites, and it has to do with color too. Why do you think this concept of colorism came to surface? This has always been a thing. Even when Apostle Dahar said during slavery, they had something called fancy girls, which the slave master would, desire the light skinned women over the darker skinned women, whatever, and have the light skinned women as, favorable as sex slaves and have them live in the house. I mean, they showed you that in The Color Purple. They had Whoopi Goldberg and her sister. They had them in the field while they had this kind of red bone. I think her name was Celia or something like that. And she was singing, and she'd have, they dress her up, and she had, a little voice on her to where they could perform. She performed for guests, entertain them, talking about Esau and their children. So before we entertain ourselves, before it was black entertainment television, they made us entertain them. You know? And we didn't make Google, but the first thing that pops up is a slave, a Negro, a yoke of iron. But they say it's metaphoric. Come on, man. These devils are the father of lies, man. These so-called white people, and that's why we keep telling you they gotta pay for their crimes. They even have our history is in the Bible, Yokes of Iron. I'm pretty sure this was put up by an Israelite. They got the Native Americans, but I'm pretty sure it was Native Americans because so-called Native Americans, they were dark-skinned people too, and dark-skinned into light-skinned, light shades of brown, and we always say people are many shades and a speckled bird, so it's some that look like a so-called white person. There's a lot of Italians. Let me see. Let me go ahead and get that scripture, Yoke of Iron. Deuteronomy 28:48, therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee in hunger. And that plays out today. Anytime you're hungry, you got to go to these devils. You got to get bread for these devils. You can't even farm in this place, man. It's illegal to farm, and it's only 2%, of black farmers that exist now, and probably less than that now. Because what do they come up with? Monsanto, they start poisoning the fields, killing their crops. These devils don't keep a land Sabbath. They don't follow the Most High at all. They don't follow this. I don't know how it had to be the Most High that it says, blind their eyes. The Most High had to blind our eyes to not see what the devil was doing, because it's plain, man. Like we have no question in our mind that this is the devil that the Bible speaks of. And thirst. You remember back then, the lady in the ancient world, the lady at the well. That was Yahweh Shai, and he was talking about drawing water. She was talking about drawing water from that well, and then he said, "Yeah, I'll get the account." But in thirst and in nakedness, and so my point was, we got to buy bottled water. We get our water from plastic, man. Plastic bottles, man. Which is crazy as hell. Damn, where's my other phone, man? And we gotta buy it from them. Then you got fluoride coming into the water where you gotta worry about the water being poisoned, which you should never have to worry about water being poisoned. Then they take out the bottom feeders, so you and the gold is it cleanses the water too. So this is definitely our enemy. We are definitely experiencing the same thing that we did when we were in Egypt. Reincarnation right here is such thing is called spiritual Egypt. They're the ones that put the pyramid on the dollar bill. Um, from where should I draw water? King James Version. Mm, the woman at the well, King James Version. Yeah, John. Come on, man. And see, the Christians wasn't even they wasn't motivated like this. It was in the churches. Now they want to be all out on the street, all doing podcasts and all that. Doing, they didn't used to do that. They know this truth is a threat to them. People know they've been in bondage. People in church got to worry about the pastor sleeping with a fucking woman, man. What kind of bogus shit is that? And you wonder why we don't have women around. Shit. I don't want that temptation, man. And it shouldn't even be. Woman at the well, King James Version. So, yeah, you can go down to 4 and 13. And Yahweh Shai answered and said unto her, whosoever drinketh of this water shall thirst again, but whosoever drinketh the water that I shall give him shall never thirst. And then what they doing is they putting some in the water that makes it that makes you thirst more. Like I forgot what chemical element that they put in the water, but you're not getting it's not really a full um, uh, taste. It's not a feeling of water that you drink. You could tell you drink water this day and you're more thirsty. And when you start drinking, start drinking, man. So you know, but Yahweh Shai said, um, the water that He give you, you shall not thirst again. I shall give him the water I shall give him. So whosoever drink of the water that I shall give him shall never thirst, but the water that I shall give him shall be in him a well of water springing up into everlasting life. And that's that spiritual water. That's that spiritual gift. The Holy Spirit. You know, and that woman at the well, she wasn't an Israelite, man, but she didn't even. And the woman said unto him, Sir, give me this water that I thirst not, neither come hither to draw. So it was drawn from a well. Yahweh Shai said unto her, Go, call thy husband and come hither. And the woman answered, said, I have no husband. Yahweh Shai said unto her, Thou hast well said, I have no husband, but thou hast had 5 husbands. That lets you know that that sex constitutes marriage, man. Because you think she was having a ceremony with all the women, men she slept with. You don't think the people would have knew that in among Israel, or among even among the neighbor? Because back then things got out. Everybody used to do things in the public, so to speak. Of course you had your tents and people do things hide and stuff like that. But I'm just saying, you know, he said you have 5 husbands, not 5, flings, or 5 dudes you to lay down with her husbands. And what she only supposed to have one husband, and he didn't say that they died. It says, and he whom thou hast that house now is not thy husband, and that said is now true. And the woman said to him, Sir, I perceive that thou art a prophet. I mean, you could read it, you know, and that's when Yahweh Shai was telling her the salvation of the Jews. You worship what you not know, for salvation is of the Jews, you know. So, um, going back, uh, and in nakedness and want of all things, anything we need, a privilege to drive, a privilege to fly, a privilege to go outside of the country, a privilege to, and it's really not a privilege, you know, it's still bondage. Because if you go over there, let's say you go from America and then you go cross over and then you go to another land, you're going to be treated like a nigga over there. And then let's say you try to go amongst these other nations, they gonna look at you like, oh, it's a nigga over here. China will be like, it's a nigga over here. So those are those curses, man. It says you shall find no rest among all these nations. And I find no ease. No other nation experiences that but us. You know? Like Dave Chappelle said, yeah, that's why um, black the Arabs or whatever, you know, one of those other, I think he mentioned the Arabs don't have black people as hostages. Bad bargaining, negotiation, because you know they say, oh, we don't care about niggas. Oh, I got the nigga. I'm going to kill him, cut his head off if you don't give me the money, and then the phone hangs up. Like, yeah, we don't care about that nigga. We don't care about black people. So so that happens among these other nations too, and it says you shall. That's one of the curses, you know, by scattered among all these nations. It says, and in one of all things, and he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee. What? Your mind, your spirit, so to speak. Now you know it now, like Apostle the elders be saying, it's mental change now. You know. So now it's like Jacob's homeborn syndrome, homestock syndrome. You know, I sick, we. It's not I sick, master, or you sick, master. It's we sick. When master's sick, we sick. When he got back pain, we's got back pain, master. You know, and nobody has ever had this magnitude of what do you call it, detrimental um, atrocities in so many diverse ways, so many dynamics, but the so-called Black and Latino and Native American. And that should tell you that in depth, that should tell you, if you have understanding, that we those people. Because if you read the atrocities in the Bible, the affliction in the Bible that happened to the Israelites, even going back time of Babylon, Assyria, all those captivities, the pain and the struggle is very very exact, you know? It's very exact, man. I don't even never hear China talking about they went in slavery. Never heard the Elamites say they went into slavery. Never heard a yoke of iron out of their mouths that they experienced in some kind of form of slavery. Even Jake being in the field and it being publicly known, pictures, books, you know, documentation that they don't have that. Show me some slavery books on Edom. If you say Edom went in slavery, so-called white people went in slavery, show me some books. Show me some pictures. Show me the yoke of iron upon these other nations. And if you think it's metaphoric, well, I just read about how it said severe, pretty much inhumane atrocity done to a people or even a person. In our case, in any case, all cases really, because we're Most High deal with nations, it's talking about extreme and go through the history, man. I mean, some of these are too graphic. We got to put graphic warning. I mean, what do they call it? Disturbing images or graphic warning, whatever. Because if you want to really put it out there, that takes away from these the truth of these slavery movies. They was burning people, putting them in ovens, burning Jake, putting them in ovens, using their skin for purses and just like that Dolce Gabbana, whatever that Chanel and all that. Well, before it was designed how it is now. It was designed back in the days, as far as the actual merchandise, like a purse, was made of a Negro skin that they slew, that they cut up in pieces, what have you. Put their hands in jar, put their hands and their feet in jars. Cut one foot off and say, "You free now, nigga," knowing that the dogs will be out there, or he'll be caught by another so-called slave master. That's wicked as hell, and that's why we keep telling you about how evil this man is, how wicked this man is. He's the red man, filled with blood that shows forth through his translucent skin, because that's when you see somebody angry, they get red. So that means they're angry all the time. They're full of, their hands are murderous all the time, at any time, and they'll justify themselves in any situation. They'll justify themselves. They'll justify them. They'll kill their whole family, murder their whole family, and call the cops and say, "Yeah, come get me. I just murdered my wife and my children. Come right now. I'm about to kill myself." Why'd you do it? Well, I just didn't want to live no more. I just, my bills are overdue and having financial problem. The world is falling apart. It's not the same American dream as it was. So I just, did my family a favor, and I'll do myself a favor. So by the time you get here, I'll be gone. So, and we know Job 9:24 says the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. And key point. So this is definitely us. Let me see what that yoke mean right quick. And if you read the curses, just go to read the curses, man. It's simple. Deuteronomy 28:15 on down. If we don't hearken to do what the Lord say, all these His statute commandments and law, statute, commandments, all these curses shall come upon thee. And then read the curses, and then you'll know. That's why they never read this in church, and that's why they don't really go by this book, because it's too much information. Why do you think they didn't let us read? And they banned the Bible back then. Didn't want us to read, and then they set up churches narrated by them. And then they made a slave Bible. So if you're a Christian and talking about this, or a dude talking about the so-called white man wrote the Bible, then you're believing you're believing the lies that he told you. Just like their own children believe their lies. Let me go to Deuteronomy. I'll get the definition and close out. Let me see. It's pretty much should say the same, along the same lines as the definition I read in and I'll get in etymology too. Yoke. Allah.
Strong's H 5923. Ol.
Or Al.
Ol.
Yoke.
Second entry. Ol. Ol.
Right here it says allow. So Al, a yoke, and imposed on the neck, literally or figuratively. It says literally too. Construct, usually, and this whole America is a construct. It's like the Matrix, you know, and they have all, they pretty much the gatekeepers. They have all the keys, you know. Like the scriptures say, we gotta go to them for the one of all things. Yeah, let me see. You want clothes? And what happened to all that clothing lines that black people used to have back then? Carl Kanai and Fubu, For Us and By Us, and the Cross Colors and all that. I think Cross Colors was owned by black people. But, all the, you know, Jet Magazine and Jet Beauty and Fresh Magazine and, they killed all that. All that's gone and they'll never come back. So we continue to have to buy from him anything we need. Iron, what? No, I'll put in iron. Yoke. And the etymology. Collar or harness for fastening a pair of draft animals. Meaning, they have two oxes, and they have them yoked, so they can, especially oxen, to form a connection to a wagon or a plow, a contrivance of great antiquity. Pair of draft animals. So that's what they have, Jake, on a yoke, a mental yoke, a pair of animals yoked together. And who is the yoke? Who is they yoked to? The so-called white man. Also a person united by some link or tie. They tied labor, marriage, often contemptuous. They tied to this system. We're tied to this system in a certain way because we got to follow, the laws, and we got to follow, we're subject to payments and all that. Some form of, our living, it requires some form of documentation, some form of signature policies where we're yoked with this place according to paperwork. Now it's going digital. So guess what? Next step is Jake's gonna take that MOTB to be yoked with his so-called slave master. I say so-called because they're not really masters. Most High is the master. Yahweh Shai is the master of, master under Yahweh, and so forth. There's rank and levels of mastery. It tells you that in the law. But right now they got the ball. They got the power. They got status, riches. They got all the, like I said, keys to the gate. They got all the paperwork that you have to abide by, which consists of policies, signature. So how are you gonna get that signature? I'm gonna go into it, but you get when signify something, you make it a definite thing with your signature. It's I'm gonna go into that word anyway. It's probably gonna be a follow-up video, short follow-up video, but hopefully it was edifying so far. Shalom.